Novel Navigator. Chapter 141, Wang Haoyu. In a dim study, a grey-clothed elder was so angry that two will-o'-the-wisps seemed to be burning in his eyes. He didn't die. How could he still be alive after jumping into the abyss? The grey-clothed elder growled. The two purple-masked assassins standing in front of the grey-clothed elder were trembling with fear and dared not say anything. Not only did he not die but became much stronger. The grey-clothed elder looked at the information in his hands. The information read, Jian Wushuang went to the Clearwater stronghold in Tianyang province alone, killing all 98 copper-masked and silver-masked assassins as well as 12 golden-masked assassins. Even one purple-masked assassin was killed there. After the revenge 2 years ago, there were not many purple-masked assassins remaining in Bloodfeather Tower. And now they had lost one more. It also read, the two purple-masked assassins in Clearwater stronghold joined hands to fight with Jian Wushuang. But seconds later, one was directly killed and the other one was scared, escaping into the air and not daring to fight anymore. He fought against two enemies at a time and completely suppressed them. He has improved at such a fast pace, way too fast. If we don't stop him, Bloodfeather Tower will be destroyed by him sooner or later. He must die. Don't take any chances and don't give him any chances. We have to kill him. The grey-clothed elder growled. Suddenly, there was a light sound heard in the room. You have said that many times, haven't you? The door creaked open. A silver-robed young man, who had long hair and a wicked face, leaned against the door. He was staring at the grey-clothed elder with a strange smile. If anyone else intruded into his study like this, the grey-clothed elder would have killed them the first time, but the demonic youth was different. Not only did the demonic youth intrude into his study, he also sneered at the grey-clothed elder. However, the elder was not angry at all. Why did you come here? The grey-clothed elder asked. Though the young man hadn't reached the yin-yang void realm, his status in Bloodfeather Tower was extraordinary. Even the elder had to be humble when speaking to this person. I did not want to come here. However, Master ordered me to, so I had to come, the demonic youth said. Tower Master, the grey-clothed elder was stunned. Master said that Jian Wushuang is the target of a scarlet kill command, so he has to die. However, you have failed twice in a row and Bloodfeather Tower paid a great price because of that. Nothing unexpected is allowed in the third assassination. Therefore, I am here, the demonic youth smiled. The grey-clothed elder's face fell. He knew that Tower Master was questioning his ability because he failed to kill the target twice. What will you do? The grey-clothed elder asked. That's easy. I'll kill him openly, the demonic youth smiled and said. What? The grey-clothed elder didn't understand. Don't forget that a major event is about to happen. As a disciple of Dragon Palace, Jian Wushuang should certainly attend it. Killing him at that time will be undoubtedly logical. Dragon Palace won't say anything no matter how much it angers them, the demonic youth said. Haha, I almost forget about that, said the grey-clothed elder, smiling as well. He was confident in the demonic youth's strength. Jian Wushuang defeated two purple-masked assassins simultaneously. However, the demonic youth was much more terrifying. Because he was Shuiyun. Ranking first on the earthly dragon list, he was recognized as the strongest in the yin-yang void realm. 3 years ago, he fiercely fought with Bailey Chen and barbarian King Qing Kang, who rank 2nd and 5th on the earthly dragon list respectively, outside the imperial palace. He fought with both of them at the same time, finally ending it in a draw. However, Shuiyun was only in the profound gold core realm 3 years ago. Now, he had reached the peak of the exceptional gold core realm. After raining a whole day and night, the weather finally cleared. Jian Wushuang was flying through the air on a griffin, rushing toward Dragon Palace. Soon, a solemn and magnificent city appeared in his sight. Needless to say, it was the imperial palace of Tianzong dynasty. It was crowded and busy in the imperial palace, so nobody noticed Jian Wushuang when he flew over the imperial palace. Ah, that is. Jian Wushuang suddenly noticed a figure in the crowd at the imperial palace. He changed his look a little bit, then he made the griffin land in the imperial palace. A bunch of warriors were gathered on a wide street of the imperial palace center, excitedly watching the fierce fight in front of them. Bang! A deep and low crash noise sounded. The amazing strength gathered into the blast wave and spread out, which made many warriors narrow their eyes. Following that, a strong man flew back in defeat. Ha ha, Sulai, is that your full strength? So weak. You want to fight with me for the Cloud Dream Ginkgo? A weak man like you must be kidding, a purple-haired man with a saber in his right hand and a milky ginkgo in his left hand. His budding laughter echoed through the entire street. The man who was just beaten back was Sulai, a disciple of Dragon Palace. At this moment, his face was red and his breath was short. He stared at the purple-haired man coldly. And a red-robed girl stood beside him. "Brother, are you okay?" the red-robed girl was worried and asked him. "I'm fine," Sulai shook his head and said, "but I couldn't take back the Cloud Dream Ginkgo." "Doesn't matter. Forget it," the red-robed girl said. Sulai bitterly nodded. He was not willing to forget it. Many warriors gathered here and watched this with interest. And Jian Wushuang appeared as well, wearing a bamboo hat. Sulai seeing Sulai, Jian Wushuang smiled. Then he looked at the purple-haired man who was yelling. "That is, Wang Haoyu." Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Wang Haoyu ranked 21st on the earthly dragon list, higher than Xiao Mang, whom he had fought with before. No wonder he defeated Sulai so easily. The experts on the earthly dragon list were at the peak of the primordial gold core realm, but their strength still varied. The closer to the top, the stronger his strength, especially for those ranked in the top 20 and the top 10. Among them, each one was a monstrous expert. Wang Haoyu was ranked 21st, but Sulai was ranked 94th. This was obviously a huge gap. Everyone says that there are lots of exceptional geniuses and disciples with heaven-defying talent in Dragon Palace. But it seems you are nothing more than this. Wang Haoyu overlooked Sulai and sneeringly said. "Are you provoking the whole Dragon Palace?" Sulai's eyes were dark. "So what?" Wang Haoyu didn't care and continued speaking. "Only Bailey Chen and Qing Kang are ranked in top 10 on the earthly dragon list. Compared with the past disciples, you are much weaker. In this year's event, it would be pretty good if Dragon Palace could get 2 out of 15. But you, ranking 94th on the earthly dragon list, were not qualified to join it, am I right? Proud as you are just a joke." Wang Haoyu sneered. Unwilling to talk to Sulai, he turned to leave. However, when he turned around, Jian Wushuang stepped out from the crowd and walked towards him. Chapter 142, My name is Jian Wushuang. Wang Haoyu had only taken a few steps when a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. "You are Wang Haoyu, the 21st warrior at the earthly dragon list," Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Wang Haoyu shot a glance at Jian Wushuang in front of him. "I have wanted to join the earthly dragon list for a long time. But unfortunately, I haven't run into any of the experts on the list. How lucky I am to meet you today. Let's fight," Jian Wushuang directly said. Hearing these words, the numerous surrounding warriors burst into an uproar. He is coming for a challenge. Another one who is not afraid of death. There are so many experts on the earthly dragon list. Sulai, who ranks 94th, is also here. Yet, instead of Sulai, he chooses to challenge Wang Haoyu, the 22nd. He is either a real expert or a complete idiot. Many surrounding warriors began talking. After being challenged by Jian Wushuang in front of so many people, Wang Haoyu looked a little gloomy. "Where are you from, idiot?" Do you know nothing? Get out of my way. The cyan saber in Wang Haoyu's hand immediately slashed towards Jian Wushuang with towering force. A slight upturn was seen at the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth. He immediately reached out with his right hand the moment Wang Haoyu swung his saber. A vast amount of earth essence was gathered into Jian Wushuang's palm, taking on a physical form as he immediately grasped the slashing cyan saber. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. The blade of that cyan saber could not even scratch the earthen glow surrounding Jian Wushuang's palm. With the saber gripped in Jian Wushuang's hand, Wang Haoyu could not budge it at all. What? My God! What am I seeing? Many of the surrounding warriors were stunned. How powerful was this attack from Wang Haoyu, who ranked 21st on the earthly dragon list? Undoubtedly, it could easily kill a warrior in the exceptional gold core realm. Yet, such a powerful saber attack was now completely held in his bare hand. It was possible if Jian Wushuang was wearing some gloves or fist covers, but there was nothing covering his hand. He simply grabbed Wang Haoyu's saber? What did that mean? How can this be? Wang Haoyu himself was astonished. Although that slash had not used his full power, it was still more than a common warrior in the exceptional gold core realm could handle. However, the man in front of him had easily grasped the blade with his bare hand. You are ranked 21st on the early dragon list, yet your strength is only this much. Still hiding his face under the bamboo hat, Jian Wushuang gave out a sneer. Go to hell. Wang Haoyu was enraged at Jian Wushuang's insult. A horrible current of spiritual power arose. A powerful blast of blade essence of raging fire suddenly erupted from the cyan saber, forcing back Jian Wushuang's palm. Immediately after, Wang Haoyu reclaimed his saber, immediately attacking again. Swoosh! The blade flash was sharp and explosive, containing a terrible fury that made the numerous warriors in the area instantly turn pale from fear. Wang Haoyu had put his full strength into the slash. But the result was bang! A palm appeared in front of the saber a second time, grasping it once more. The blade essence was instantly broken and the cyan saber was trapped in Jian Wushuang's hand again. Impossible! Wang Haoyu was really seized with terror and fury. The first slash was wielded randomly, so it meant nothing although Jian Wushuang could grasp it with his bare hand. But this time, he had used his full strength. Yet, the result was the same, he grasped it with his bare hand? Stopping the saber with his bare hand, twice in a row? What kind of strength is this? What he did not know was that Jian Wushuang had improved his sword essence comprehension immensely over the 2 years in the sword tomb. Especially the sword essence of earth. Although it had not been combined with the fiery wind sword essence, it had become the most powerful among the 4 sword essences he had comprehended. Jian Wushuang was even confident that, with only the sword essence of earth, he could easily pass the 11th floor of the Dragon Gate. Such profound comprehension in earth essence, which was good at defense, was intensely gathered in his palm. It is no surprise that Wang Haoyu's attack could not break it. The 21st warrior on the earthly dragon list was just so. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, then moved his palm a little. A vast current of the earth essence erupted and a terrifying force rushed out. At the same time, Wang Haoyu's cyan saber was completely bent in Jian Wushuang's hand, and then became an out-and-out twist. Casually throwing aside that cyan saber he had turned into scrap metal, Jian Wushuang grinned and then punched Wang Haoyu's chest. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out as Wang Haoyu brutally flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, immediately cracking the ground with his heavy landing. The whole street became very silent. Everybody who witnessed the scene was in shock. Jian Wushuang slowly walked towards Wang Haoyu, and said in a low voice, Wang Haoyu, with such strength, are you qualified to be the 21st on the earthly dragon list? How ridiculous! You are far weaker than Xiao Mang. What Jian Wushuang said was the truth, because he had fought against Xiao Mang. In terms of real strength, Xiao Mang was definitely much stronger than Wang Haoyu. But, because the former had kept a low profile and rarely fought against others, his rank remained 22nd for a long time. You. Who on earth are you? Wang Haoyu tightly stared at Jian Wushuang. You mentioned Xiao Mang? He is a low-key person who hardly ever fights with others. His most recent fight was 2 years ago and it caused a big commotion. He fought against Swordsman, who died. Before he finished the story, Wang Haoyu suddenly widened his eyes and then shouted with fear, "You are Swordsman." What? The entire street was shocked. Swordsman? The guy who turned the whole Tianzong dynasty upside down 2 years ago? Swordsman, an exceptional genius that rarely appeared every few decades, who was listed in the Millennium Chronicle compiled by the Gladiator Arena. Everyone was familiar with the name Swordsman. But now, Wang Haoyu said that this mysterious man wearing a bamboo hat in front of everyone was the same Swordsman? Swordsman? Sulai abruptly raised his head, gazing at Jian Wushuang. Everyone on the street looked over at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, who hid his face under the bamboo hat, slightly curled the corners of his mouth at this moment, and then directly threw away the bamboo hat. As he raised his head, a cold but handsome face appeared. Meanwhile, his voice, with a little arrogance, was heard echoing on the entire street. I'm not Swordsman. My name is Jian Wushuang. With a sword in hand, no one is my match. Remember that. Chapter 143, Returning. Jian Wushuang? He said his name is Jian Wushuang. I haven't heard that name before. With a sword in hand, no one is his match. So arrogant. He is supposed to be a swordsman, but he defeated Wang Haoyu without a sword. The numerous surrounding warriors were discussing. They had never heard the name Jian Wushuang name before. But, from this day forward, they would remember it. Not just them, the countless warriors in the entire Tianzong dynasty would know his name very soon. After all, he had defeated Wang Haoyu, who ranked 21st at the Earthly Dragon list. And it was a thorough defeat. Of course, he would become famous after today. What Jian Wushuang? You are absolutely swordsman. Wang Haoyu glared at Jian Wushuang. Swordsman. Sulai, who was standing aside, looked over at Jian Wushuang with wide eyes as he shouted. His swordsman was enough to prove Jian Wushuang's identity. Swordsman. He is that swordsman who defeated Xiao Mang, killed the purple-masked assassin from Bloodfeather Tower, and then jumped into the abyss 2 years ago. He jumped into the abyss and died, didn't he? How can he still be alive? Everyone at the scene was shocked. However, Jian Wushuang just slightly smiled. He did not defeat Wang Haoyu to become famous around the world. He just wanted to recover his name and identity. Swordsman was just an alias he had used to avoid Bloodfeather Tower's pursuit. Jian Wushuang was his genuine name. At this moment, he wanted everyone to know that Swordsman had died 2 years ago and Jian Wushuang had been reborn like a phoenix. Swordsman, is it really you? Sulai ran over. Sulai, I haven't seen you for 2 years. How are you? Jian Wushuang replied and smiled. You did not die? Sulai asked in surprise. Jian Wushuang shrugged, reached out towards Wang Haoyu, and then said, hand over the cloud dream ginkgo. Wang Haoyu's face turned gloomy, with dense unwillingness in his eyes. But, he knew the strength gap between himself and Jian Wushuang. He did not dare to refuse, immediately handing the cloud dream ginkgo to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang gave the cloud dream ginkgo to Sulai. I appreciate it a lot, Sulai said gratefully. Jian Wushuang just smiled slightly. Jian Wushuang, don't be so happy. This is not over yet, Wang Haoyu said bitterly. Oh. Jian Wushuang looked at Wang Haoyu. If my guess is correct, won't you be participating in the event? Wang Haoyu said coldly. Event? What event? Jian Wushuang asked while looking puzzled. Stop pretending. Wang Haoyu sneered, you are a disciple of Dragon Palace. Of course you will take part in this event on behalf of Dragon Palace. So we'll meet again. When that happens, I will make sure to return today's humiliation to you twofold. You'll return it to me twofold? By yourself. Jian Wushuang slightly curled the corners of his mouth. Of course not from me. It will be from my big brother, Wang Haoyu said. Your big brother, Wang Haoshan. Jian Wushang's smile grew even bigger. There was an introduction to Wang Haoyu's background in the earthly dragon list. Jian Wushuang knew that he came from the Wang clan, one of the 7 oldest clans in Tianzong dynasty. Wang Haoyu also had a big brother named Wang Haoshan, who ranked 6th 2 years ago but was now ranked 3rd on the earthly dragon list. It was said that Wang Haoyu had recently defeated the former 3rd rank, Mu Yingying from the Mu clan. Ranking 3rd on the earthly dragon list definitely demonstrate Wang Haoshan's strength. Then, I'll be waiting, Jian Wushuang said, then slightly smiled. Just wait and see. Wang Haoyu coldly snorted, and then left with hatred. This Wang Haoyu is quite narrow-minded. Jian Wushuang said and smiled. Humph. He is a petty man, but his big brother is really strong, Sulai said seriously. Maybe. Jian Wushuang casually nodded. He did not care too much. 3rd rank on the earthly dragon list was really strong. But Jian Wushuang was no longer the boy from 2 years ago. Swordsman, I never thought you were still alive. Haha. This is a major event for the whole Dragon Palace. Come on. Let's go to Dragon Palace. Sulai smiled and said, little sister, you can head back first. Okay. The red-robed girl standing beside Sulai nodded. Then, following Sulai, Jian Wushuang walked toward Dragon Palace. At Dragon Palace. The moment Jian Wushuang returned, everyone in Dragon Palace was shocked. What? Who? Who has returned? Palace Master White was stunned by the news. It's Swordsman. He has returned, replied the purple-robed servant who delivered the news. Swordsman. The expression on Palace Master White's face became complicated. Jian Wushuang was the talent whom she thought most highly of. 2 years ago, when it was said that Jian Wushuang had been forced to jump into the abyss, she was the saddest one. But now, Jian Wushuang had returned. Go. Go. Bring him here quickly. Oh, no. I'll go get him myself. Haha. The exceptional genius of our Dragon Palace has returned. Inside Dragon Palace. Jian Wushuang and Sulai slowly walked forward, side by side, surrounded by the disciples of Dragon Palace. When these disciples saw Jian Wushuang, their expression became very weird. It really is Swordsman. It's him. He didn't die. He jumped into the abyss, didn't he? How can he still be alive? These disciples all felt it inconceivable. After all, many warriors had witnessed Jian Wushuang jumping into the abyss. It was a fact. Jumping into the abyss definitely meant death. Even the Millennium Chronicle, compiled by the Gladiator, said that an exceptional genius had passed away. Alas! How sad! But now, Jian Wushuang had not died and he just appeared in front of everyone, alive. Third brother! Third brother! A shout of awe and exultation was suddenly heard in front. Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked over. He immediately noticed Wang Yuan rushing towards him with Yang Zexuan and Suro beside him. Ha! Elder brother Wang Yuan. Jian Wushuang walked towards him with a laugh. Third brother. I missed you so much. Wang Yuan directly gave Jian Wushuang a big hug. Second brother. It's been a long time since we saw each other. Jian Wushuang looked towards Yang Zexuan, reaching out his fist. Welcome back. A smile appeared on Yang Zexuan's cold face as he reached out to bump fists with Jian Wushuang. Haha, fourth sister. Jian Wushuang then turned towards the shy Suro and directly gave her a hug. Suro did not resist, but her face turned bright red. 2 years later, the four of them had finally met again. Swordsman. A clear and cold voice was heard. After which, Palace Master White walked towards him, followed by a crowd of temple masters. It really is Swordsman. Little guy, how are you so lucky? We all thought he had died, so we took revenge on the Blood Feather Tower. No one ever expected the boy was still alive. Seeing Jian Wushuang, the temple masters talked casually, smiling. Swordsman, follow me. Palace Master White spoke directly. Jian Wushuang raised his brow and shot a glance at Wang Yuan and the other two. I'll go with Palace Master White first, then join you later. Okay, I'll prepare some good wine for you. Let us four siblings drink heartily and have a good time later, Wang Yuan said and then laughed. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded, then followed Palace Master White and left. Chapter 144, Nanyang Continent. Within the palace. The temple masters had left, but palace masters Black and White were sitting in front of Jian Wushuang. Boy! What happened? How did you survive the abyss? Asked Palace Master White. It was no wonder why she was so curious. The abyss was still a mystery. No one knew what was there. However, anyone who fell into the abyss, even experts in the yin-yang void realm, would die. However, Jian Wushuang returned alive from the abyss. I don't know. When I fainted after I jumped into the abyss. When I woke up, I found myself inside the sword tomb, Jian Wushuang said. A sword tomb. Palace masters Black and White looked at each other. The sword tomb was rife with sword scars. Jian Wushuang told them most of what happened in the sword tomb, only leaving out the absolute beauty, and the robust man in the ancestors' land. He told them he had accidentally entered the sword tomb. After hearing what Jian Wushuang said, both palace masters looked astonished. You spent a full 2 years in that sword tomb. Besides the sword tomb, didn't you explore anywhere else? Palace Master White could not help asking. No, I could feel danger all around, so I did not dare to explore. Somehow, I was able to leave by entering the space rift. Then, I appeared in the dark forest, Jian Wushuang said. Space rift? Wormhole. The two palace masters stared at him with wide eyes. The wormhole was a legendary skill. Of course, it might also be a natural wormhole. It seems that there is a big secret hidden in the abyss, said Palace Master White, sighing in praise. So many experts of the yin-yang void realm went to explore but never returned. Yet somehow, this little guy survived. He's quite lucky. Palace Master Black also smiled. They were not very skeptical about what Jian Wushuang said. The abyss was a dangerous place. It was normal for Jian Wushuang to find out nothing given his current strength. Anyway, being able to return alive is already very fortunate, and you returned at a great time, Palace Master White said and laughed. A major event is about to begin. I was currently troubled by this. Now that you are back, that problem is solved. A major event? Jian Wushuang asked. Before, in the Imperial Palace, Wang Haoyu had also mentioned it. But he had no idea what this major event was. Palace Master White. What is this major event? Jian Wushuang asked without hesitation. Have you heard about the easternmost hunt? Palace Master White beamed. The easternmost hunt. Jian Wushuang immediately shook his head. He had never heard anything about it. Well, it is a long story, so I'll explain it, Palace Master White smiled and slowly narrated. Jian Wushuang, is the Tianzong dynasty vast? Palace Master White asked. Very vast. Jian Wushuang immediately nodded. In his eyes, the Tianzong dynasty was incredibly vast. You are right, the Tianzong dynasty is very vast. Palace Master White also nodded and continued, it has a total of 16 provinces. There are many counties in these 16 provinces, so it can be said to be very vast. However, how big is the land we are on? The land. Jian Wushuang was stunned for a second and then shook his head. I tell you that this piece of land is called Nanyang continent and it has endless territory. There are many dynasties on the Nanyang continent. Tianzong dynasty is just one of the many dynasties on the Nanyang continent. And just a small empire, Palace Master White said. A small empire. Jian Wushuang was slightly stunned. On the entire Nanyang continent, the dynasties have been divided into 3 levels according to their territorial strengths. Small empires, middle-sized empires, and large empires. Palace Master White explained. Different level dynasties will have different overall strengths. Our Tianzong dynasty is only a small empire. Among the many dynasties on the Nanyang continent, it can be said that it is an unremarkable dynasty that nobody cares about. Not far away, the territory, where the Tianzong dynasty is located, is in the northwest corner of the Nanyang continent. There are a total of 11 dynasties around us. Of these 11 dynasties, there are 2 large empires, 6 middle-sized empires, and 3 other small empires. The easternmost hunt is held every 20 years. At the beginning of the easternmost hunt, the 12 dynasties in the northwest, including Tianzong dynasty, will send experts to participate. The rules stipulate that those experts can only be warriors in the Gold Core realm. Warriors in the Yin-Yang Void realm cannot join. Each easternmost hunt will generally attract some old sections. Old sects? Jian Wushuang asked while lifting his brow. In the Nanyang continent, there are a large number of dynasties. The real overlords and rulers of this continent are from those old sects. The dynasties are merely the vassals of these sects. Palace Master White smiled and continued. Some old sects will be taking part in the easternmost hunt, and they will also select some of the best among those who participate in the hunt. They will become core disciples instead of normal disciples. Becoming a core disciple is considered a big success. Even his dynasty will flatter them. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was completely stunned. The core disciples of those old sects have such a status? Even a dynasty has to fawn over them. Boy, there's something you need to understand, Palace Master White said seriously. There is no doubt that Dragon Palace is the holy land for cultivators in the Tianzong dynasty. But it is only true in the Tianzong dynasty. Outside the Tianzong dynasty and in the entire Nanyang continent, Dragon Palace is nothing. And those old sects are not. Jian Wushuang was surprised, but it was understandable. Although the cultivation resources in Dragon Palace were very rich, as his strength increased, Jian Wushuang gradually realized that the resources in Dragon Palace had little use for him. However, ruling the entire Nanyang continent, the old sects would have more amazing resources. So, you can imagine how fortunate it is to enter the old sects and become a core disciple. Naturally, there are countless people who are eager to enter these old sects. For the 12 dynasties in the northwest, the only chance to enter them is the easternmost hunt. Chapter 145, The Selection Battle. Participate in the easternmost hunt is the only way to join the old sects. When does this even, the easternmost hunt, begin? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, the easternmost hunting, which is held every 10 years, will start in 3 months. But for the small empires, such as the Tianzong dynasty, only 15 Gold Core realm experts can participate, Palace Master White said. Only 15. Jian Wushuang frowned. A dynasty, even if it was a small one, possessed countless geniuses. In the Tianzong dynasty, there are 100 experts on the earthly dragon list. They are all geniuses. The number would be even larger if the hidden experts of the Gold Core realm are included. However, only 15 of them were able to participate in the easternmost hunt. Therefore, each spot was extremely precious. Because there are too few spots, before the easternmost hunt, our Tianzong dynasty will select the 15 strongest experts to participate in it. And this selection is called the quota battle. Palace Master Black said. Though it is just a selection battle inside the Tianzong dynasty, it will still be very cruel. As the holy place for cultivators in Tianzong dynasty, we can elect 10 people to participate in this quota battle. But in the end, how many of them can obtain a spot is unknown. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Only 15 spots, even if it was in Dragon Palace, which was known for being full of exceptional geniuses, the available number of spots was also limited. Among the disciples of Dragon Palace, Bailey Chen and Qingkang are ranked 2nd and 6th on the earthly dragon list. Both of them have a good chance. However, they can only take 2 spots. In the previous selection battle, Dragon Palace took at least 4 or 5 out of the 15 spots. But this time the disciples of Dragon Palace, compared to the previously, are weaker overall, so our expectations are lower. But we want to get at least 3 spots. In addition to Bailey Chen and Qingkang, we need one more person to secure a spot, Palace Master White said seriously. You want me to participate in the selection battle and get a spot for Dragon Palace? Jian Wushuang looked questioningly at both Palace Master Black and Palace Master White. Yes. Palace Master White nodded. 2 years ago, you defeated Xiao Mang, who ranked 22nd on the earthly dragon list. Besides, your talent is well known, and in these 2 years, your strength must have greatly improved. It's very likely that you can obtain a spot. But, it is not just for Dragon Palace. You are also participating in the selection battle for yourself. I know your true identity. Jian Wushuang, the target of a Scarlet Kill command from Bloodfeather Tower, which means that they will kill you at all costs. So 2 years ago, despite the revenge from Dragon Palace, the Bloodfeather Tower was still determined to kill you. There is no buffer between you and Bloodfeather Tower. It won't stop until one of you dies. To be honest, your current strength is still too weak to take on Bloodfeather Tower. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. So, what you need the most now, is time, Palace Master White said and smiled. You are talented, so if you are given enough time to grow, there is a huge possibility that you will obliterate Bloodfeather Tower in the future. But, Bloodfeather Tower won't give you time. They will take every chance to assassinate you. Though I will give you shelter, unless you are hiding in Dragon Palace, it will be difficult to really ensure your safety. If you can, stand out in the easternmost hunt and draw the attention of those old sects. Once you become a core disciple of those old sects, they won't dare touch you. Palace Master Black also nodded and said, the old sects are powerful and capable of destroying Bloodfeather Tower with ease. Therefore, if you become a core disciple of an old sect, Bloodfeather Tower won't dare to kill you, at least on the surface. And you can take advantage of the shelter from the old sect to improve your strength. Finally, when your strength has increased to a certain level, you can fight back against Bloodfeather Tower. I see. Jian Wushuang laughed. He also agreed with the 2 palace masters. Indeed, if he could get a spot, and participate in the easternmost hunt, then joined one old sect, he could appear openly in front of Bloodfeather Tower. The cultivation resources in the old sects were also better than those in Dragon Palace. Trust me. I will attend the selection battle. Though I am not absolutely sure I can get a spot, I will do my best, Jian Wushuang said. Haha, I knew you would agree. Only a fool wouldn't agree, Palace Master White said and laughed. Okay, here's a gift. Palace Master White turned her hand over and gave Jian Wushuang a thick book. This is, Jian Wushuang looked at this book strangely. After opening it, his look immediately changed. Formless sword art, the last 3 moves. Yes, that is the last 3 moves of the formless sword art, Palace Master White laughed and said, actually, 2 years ago, when you passed the 11th level of the Dragon Gate, both of us and those temple masters discussed and agreed to give it to you. But we failed to do that because of what happened. Now that you have returned, it's yours. But the last 3 moves of the formless sword art are not available in the secret pavilion. Jian Wushuang felt it was strange. Haha, you are really stupid. Do you think that the secret pavilion is simple? Palace Master White said and grinned. Jian Wushuang was confused. There are actually 2 secret pavilions in Dragon Palace, a big one, and a small one. You often go to the big one. Though there are many treasures, it's only suitable for the warriors in the Gold Core realm and the Spiritual Sea realm. However, the small one is only available to palace masters and temple masters of Dragon Palace. Though there are few treasures, they are more precious. Like the last 3 moves of the formless sword art, which were not in the big secret pavilion, only in the small secret pavilion. So, are you surprised? Palace Master White asked while beaming. Yeah. Jian Wushuang laughed. The formless sword art was known as the top sword skill in Tianzong dynasty. It was incredibly powerful. After the experience in the ancestors' land, Jian Wushuang's field of vision had increased. Not to mention, he also had the selfless sword technique, which was better than the formless sword art. However, Jian Wushuang still looked forward to studying the last 3 moves of the formless sword art. Chapter 146, Gathering of the Brothers. The formless sword art has 9 sword skills, and each one is stronger than the previous one. What level of power will the last 3 sword skills reach? Jian Wushuang was looking forward to the results. Well, you should prepare for the selection battle being held in 1 month. Of course, before this battle, Dragon Palace will hold its own competition and choose 10 people to participate in the selection battle. All the elders of Dragon Palace will return, so you will have a chance to meet them, said Palace Master White. Elders? Jian Wushuang asked, while smiling slightly. He already knew the elders from Dragon Palace. Although they did not stay in Dragon Palace during ordinary times, all of them were famous in Tianzong dynasty. 15 of them, not including Sulai, were on the earthly dragon list. For Jian Wushuang to participate in the easternmost hunt, he had to go through 3 rounds or competition. The first round was the selection within Dragon Palace. After all, Dragon Palace only had 10 recommendations, but there were many old and new disciples that wanted to participate in this hunt, so it was inevitable that Jian Wushuang would take part in this competition. The second round was the selection in Tianzong dynasty. All the top talents in Tianzong dynasty would take part in it. The third and final round was the beginning of the real easternmost hunt. In that round, the 12 northwestern dynasties would all compete against each other. Inside the manor. Come on, let's toast third brother's resurrection. Wang Yuan laughed happily and picked up a glass directly. How could you call it a resurrection? I was alive the whole time. Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes, but he still drank the wine in his glass. Third brother, you never knew that after hearing the news of your death 2 years ago, I was in pain for a long time. So, you owe me another glass, Wang Yuan said. Very well. Jian Wushuang smiled and drank with Yang Zixuan and Suro by his side. Jian Wushuang was really happy to see these 3 siblings again after 2 years. By the way, you should be careful when dealing with that blood feather tower who chased you, because there is something unusual about them, Wang Yuan said with profound meaning. Something about them is weird. Suro nodded her head deeply. Yes, I know. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. He never looked down upon Blood Feather Tower. Come on, let's drink. Third brother, you should give a toast to second brother. In these 2 years when you were missing, in order to get revenge for you, second brother targeted Blood Feather Tower and used them to practice his swordsmanship. In those 2 years of slaughter, numerous assassins of Blood Feather Tower died by his hands, Wang Yuan said with a smile. I do need to give a toast to second brother. Come on, second brother. Jian Wushuang immediately gave him a toast. In these 2 years, Wang Yuan's strength did not seem to have grown, but the strength of both Yang Zixuan and Suro had greatly improved. Previously, they had reached the profound gold core realm. But now, they had stepped into the exceptional gold core realm. Especially Yang Zixuan, his cultivation was definitely at the peak of the exceptional gold core realm. Yang Zixuan's comprehension towards essence was rather high. When he and Jian Wushuang entered the Dragon Palace, he had directly passed the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. After such a long time, his comprehension must have reached a higher level. Combined with his cultivation, Yang Zixuan's overall strength should be very terrifying. Second brother is sitting in front of me. Although he deliberately restrained his breath, I feel that his strength is greater than Wang Haoyu's. Jian Wushuang thought in his heart. As for Suro, her cultivation had also improved, but Jian Wushuang had no idea how strong she was. After all, Suro was mysterious. 2 years ago, at Quiet Moon Lake, Suro had released a terrifying aura and then pushed back a purple masked assassin. Do you know about the event that is going to be held in 3 months? Yang Zixuan suddenly asked. You mean the easternmost hunt? Haha, of course I know, Wang Yuan said and laughed. I've just heard about it from Palace Master White, Jian Wushuang said with a smile on his face. Suro was still as shy as before and said nothing. Third brother, you will participate in this event, won't you? Yang Zixuan asked him. Of course. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, and you? I will definitely participate. I will join both the selection battle in 1 month and the easternmost hunt in 3 months, Yang Zixuan said coldly. Oh, pretty confident. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, and then looked at Suro and said, how about you? Suro muttered for a while, and then nodded her head and said, I will do my best. Haha, all I can do is to wish for you 3 to succeed in the hunt. It's a pity that my strength is not strong enough, or the 4 of us could join the easternmost hunt and show our power to the experts of large empires. Just thinking about that makes me excited, Wang Yuan said with emotion. It's still too early to say that. It will be difficult to get one of the 10 recommendations from Dragon Palace, let alone one of the 15 places in the selection battle 1 month later. As far as I know, the elders of Dragon Palace will come back to help win more spots in this hunt. Their strength is extraordinary, and 15 of them are on the earthly dragon list, said Jian Wushuang. Of those elders, only Bailey Chen, who is rank 2nd, and Qing Kang, who is rank 6th on the earthly dragon list, are worth worrying about. There is nothing to fear from the others, Yang Zixuan said in a cold voice. That's really crazy. Jian Wushuang said and chuckled, but a real smile emerged from his heart. The 4 siblings gathered together and talked for a long time, not dispersing until the evening. Third brother, I have prepared a gift for you. Can I show it to you? Wang Yuan held Jian Wushuang's shoulders and said with a mysterious smile on his face. Gift. Jian Wushuang wiped his nose and said, of course, let me see the gift. Lead the way. Okay, Wang Yuan answered. Then he led Jian Wushuang to leave the Dragon Palace and go to the Imperial Palace. Wang Yuan and Jian Wushuang came to a seemingly ordinary shop in the Imperial Palace. Under the guidance of an attendant, they entered the cellar and then stepped into a secret chamber. 2 purple-robed guards were standing in front of the secret chamber's door. Jian Wushuang's face suddenly changed when he saw these 2 guards. Yin-Yang Void Realm. Jian Wushuang's eyes were full of astonishment. He could obviously detect that the 2 guards in front of him were experts at the peak of the Yin-Yang Void Realm. Experts of the Yin-Yang Void Realm, guarding the door to a secret chamber? What was going on here? Brother Yuan, this is, Jian Wushuang involuntarily asked. Haha, don't ask so much. Later you will know everything. Come with me. Wang Yuan waved his hand, and then the two guards immediately opened the door. Wang Yuan and Jian Wushuang walked into the secret chamber, one after the other. This secret chamber was actually a totally enclosed dungeon. There was only a tiny amount of candle light, so this dungeon was very dark. As soon as Jian Wushuang stepped into the dungeon, he saw a body in the center of the room, tied to a burning iron prop by a black iron chain. The body was covered in scars. Some of them were caused by a knife, while some were worm bites. The scars were terrifying to look at. Chapter 147, New Rankings of the Earthly Dragon List. This is Lin Yun. Jian Wushuang looked at the gruesomely tortured body lying in front of him with astonishment. Wasn't it the purple-masked assassin, Lin Yun, who chased him so hard that he had to jump into the abyss 2 years ago? Yes, it's him, Wang Yuan answered and smiled. How did you get him here? Jian Wushuang asked. Haha, I have my ways. Wang Yuan grinned, but didn't explain much. Jian Wushuang's expression turned odd. He always thought Wang Yuan was special. In terms of talent, Wang Yuan, who only passed the 3rd floor of the Dragon Gate, was at the bottom of the many disciples in Dragon Palace. There was nothing extraordinary and no hint of him being a genius. Normally, a man like him could not get into Dragon Palace, not to mention staying there for so long. However, even with his unimpressive performance, Wang Yuan still remained in Dragon Palace. Jian Wushuang refused to believe that there was not something fishy about it. Now, it was clear that Wang Yuan had an unusual identity, since he could bring Lin Yun here and torture him secretly without alerting Blood Feather Tower. Is he a child of one of the 7 top clans? But there's no Wang among the 7 top clans in Tianzong dynasty. And, even though those top clans are formidable, having an expert in the Yin-Yang Void Realm guard the gate is still absurd, Jian Wushuang thought. Third brother, Lin Yun is my gift to you. How do you plan to deal with him? Wang Yuan said with a smile. Just kill him, Jian Wushuang answered. Do you want to do it yourself? Wang Yuan asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded, then he slowly stepped forward. Lin Yun was tied to a red-hot iron pillar. Sensing someone coming, Lin Yun struggled to lift his head, but his eyes widened with fear when he saw Jian Wushuang standing in front of him. Impossible. How could it be possible? Lin Yun couldn't stop growling, you are not dead? How can you still be alive? Sorry to let you down. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile, then leaned forward beside Lin Yun's ears and whispered, do you remember what I said at the abyss? Lin Yun was stunned for a second. Since I survived, Blood Feather Tower will be in trouble. But you are not the first purple-masked assassin I have killed. Lucky for you. I have already killed one at the Clearwater Stronghold in Tianyang Province. You are the second. After finishing his words, Jian Wushuang grabbed Lin Yun's throat and squeezed it, crushing his throat in an instant. Lin Yun, the purple-masked assassin of Blood Feather Tower, and well-known governor of the Blizzard City, died on the spot. Yuan, thank you so much, Jian Wushuang said. Haha, you don't need to be so polite with your brother. Let's go, Wang Yuan laughed and said. They immediately returned to Dragon Palace. During the following days, Jian Wushuang started to dig into the last 3 moves of the formless sword art. He became ecstatic immediately after gaining some understanding of the last 3 moves. Haha, I never thought that the last 3 moves required the use of 2 sword essences simultaneously, and those 2 sword essences just so happened to be the sword essences of Gale and Raging Fire. Jian Wushuang was overwhelmed by this huge surprise. The formless sword art had always emphasized the sword essence of Gale. The deeper the comprehension of the sword essence of Gale, the stronger the power would be when one demonstrated the sword art. but he never expected the last 3 sword moves would require an understanding of both sword essences of Gale and Raging Fire. Only by combining the 2 sword essences could one demonstrate the 3 moves. The 7th move of the formless sword art could only be displayed by someone who had good comprehension in both Gale and Raging Fire. But combining them was not necessary. The 8th move, however, required the 2 sword essences to be combined into the Fiery Wind sword essence. As for the last and the strongest, 9th move, it demanded an extremely deep comprehension of the Fiery Wind sword essence. Now that I've combined the sword essences of Gale and Raging Fire into the Fiery Wind sword essence, I can definitely demonstrate the 8th move of the formless sword art. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with excitement. He had been missing a sword skill that could fully exert the Fiery Wind sword essence ever since he combined the 2 sword essences. Although he had the selfless sword technique, it had an incredibly high prerequisite. Plus, it needed 4 sword essences instead of 2. The selfless sword technique could not be fully activated if he only combined 2 sword essences. But the formless sword art was different. It happened to aim for people who were mastering the Fiery Wind sword essence, so it was the most suitable sword skill for him to exert his full power. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang started to meditate on the 7th and 8th sword moves of the formless sword art. 7 days passed quickly. During these 7 days, many warriors who had trained in Dragon Palace had returned from their travels for self-training. In addition, the Earthly Dragon list had updated its rankings during these days. While the new rankings evoked quite a stir in Tianzong dynasty. The rankings list was as follows. Rank 1, Shuiyun. Rank 2, Bailey Chen. Rank 3, Wang Haoshan. Rank 4, Mu Yingying. Rank 5, Fen Yushan. There were no alterations from the 1st place to the 9th place, only the 10th place. Rank 10, Jian Wushuang. It surely attracted a lot of attention when a new name barged in the rankings of the Earthly Dragon list, claiming the 10th place. And the description of him was as follows. Jian Wushuang, a disciple of Dragon Palace, with cultivation in the profound gold core realm, had used the alias Swordsman and defeated Xiao Mang, who ranked 22th on the Earthly Dragon list at the Quiet Moon Lake 2 years ago, then jumped into the abyss while being pursued by Blood Feather Tower. 2 years later, he returned and fought with Wang Haoyu inside the Imperial Palace. He blocked Wang Haoyu's full-strength blade attack with only his bare hands, easily overpowering him and winning the fight. The Millennium Chronicle of the Gladiator Arena recorded Jian Wushuang as an exceptional genius rarely seen for decades. After evaluating his talents and the brilliant battle record from 2 years ago, we, the Golden Dragon Palace, affirm that he is now capable of being ranked in the top 10 of the Earthly Dragon list. The description was not long or short, but it explained very clearly why Jian Wushuang was among the top 10. Of course, the description stirred up a great number of disputes. They ranked him at 10th place without any battle results, only because on his talents and the fact he easily suppressed Wang Haoyu? That's way too arbitrary. Chapter 148, Doubts. Ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. How could he rank 10th with that? Every top 10 experts in the Earthly Dragon list earned their ranking with publicly accepted battle results. What about Jian Wushuang? Because he defeated Wang Haoyu easily, or because of his talents? You must be kidding me. Taking on the blade attack of Wang Haoyu with his bare hands and holding the edge is not too hard. Warriors who have mastered and materialized Earth Essence, with good defense, can definitely confront an enemy's weapon. It's not a big deal. Exactly. Beating Wang Haoyu easily could only get him into the top 20 of the Earthly Dragon list, or even the top 15. No one would say anything about that. But top 10 is far too much. When did Golden Dragon Palace become so perfunctory about the rankings of the Earthly Dragon list? How dare they put him in the 10th place without convincing battle results? A chorus of doubts. The Earthly Dragon list's written description of Jian Wushuang was not enough to convince the experts in Tianzong dynasty. After all, Jian Wushuang did not have any open battle results that could be proud of. Defeating Xiao Mang? Beating Wang Haoyu? Neither could prove that he was eligible to be ranked 10th. However, Jian Wushuang didn't care a bit about how the outside world discredited him. He had been delving into the formless sword art and finally managed to barely grasp the 7th move after 7 days. While the 8th move was still at the learning stage. Second brother, third brother, fourth sister, Wang Yuan called out for his siblings. Wang Yuan's voice echoed throughout the whole manor, and soon the 4 siblings gathered together. Palace Master White asked me to tell you that those seniors of Dragon Palace have already arrived. Today, 10 people will be delegated to participate in the selection battle. She wants you guys to go there now, said Wang Yuan. They have already arrived. Jian Wushuang asked with a twist of his mouth. The seniors of Dragon Palace. A piercingly cold light appeared in Yang Zexuan's eyes. Let's go and meet these seniors, Jian Wushuang said and laughed. After which, the 4 headed to the martial arts practice field. A sea of people were crammed together at the huge martial arts practice field of Dragon Palace. A large number of disciples had come here. While several figures with majestic auras stood tall at the center of the crowds. Some of these figures were as fierce as a flame, while some were calm as a mountain, and some were matchlessly ferocious. It could be seen at first glance that they had all reached the peak of the exceptional gold core realm. These were the seniors of Dragon Palace, who had been traveling to temper themselves. There were 30 people and 15 of them were on the earthly dragon list excluding Sulai. That's Su Changkong, ranked 44th on the earthly dragon list. I know him. When I was traveling last year, I witnessed him killing 4 warriors in the exceptional gold core realm with a single stroke of his axe. That's Gu He, ranked 53rd on the earthly dragon list. Is that Lu Qing the blood pikeman? So many experts. Are they all seniors of Dragon Palace? Many disciples stared at these figures as their hearts pounded with excitement. Any one of those seniors was widely known in the Tianzong dynasty, and they all came from Dragon Palace. Among those seniors, 2 figures were the most noticeable. One was a savage man with messy hair and an unshaven face. The other was a scarlet-robed young man, who was dapper in appearance but had an aura of apathy. He wore a pair of bloody gloves which were covered with mysterious cracks that looked like hideous outstretched blood vessels. These 2 people had already become legends in the Tianzong dynasty. Barbarian King Qing Kang. Demon Hand Bailey Chen. Both of them were senior disciples of Dragon Palace. One was previously ranked 5th on the earthly dragon list, but was now ranked 6th due to the rise of Wang Haoshan. While the other one had occupied the 2nd rank on the earthly dragon list, and had even ranked 1st before Shui Yun from Bloodfeather Tower had appeared. At this moment, Jian Wushuang and his 3 siblings arrived here, as well as Sulai. Oh look, the freshmen are here. The seniors looked over immediately and fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang. Is he Jian Wushuang? I heard that he is only 19 years old. He's quite excellent to rank 10th at such a young age. 10th place. Is a little brat like him qualified to rank 10th? The seniors were also discussing this with each other. Sulai, did you hear that? These seniors only care about my 3rd brother. No one is paying attention to you, the 94th rank on the earthly dragon list. Wang Yuan spoke freely and smiled. Your 3rd brother is famous. I can do nothing about that, Sulai said with a resigned tone. If the current Dragon Palace was divided into 2 camps, the seniors and the freshmen, then Sulai also belonged to the freshmen. Among the freshmen, only he and Jian Wushuang were included in the earthly dragon list, so they were naturally the leaders. Unfortunately, unlike Jian Wushuang, he received no attention from the seniors. As for Bai Chang, who was once famous among the freshmen, he left Dragon Palace and disappeared 2 years ago. Are they Bailey Chen and Qing Kang? Jian Wushuang asked, looking right at the 2 most conspicuous people among the seniors. the scarlet-robed youth and the barbarian. They were the only people who were really qualified to draw his attention among the seniors. Whoosh! 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 Several figures appeared on the martial arts practice field at the same time. It was the palace masters and the temple masters. "It looks like everybody is here," Palace Master White's gentle voice spread out. "This selection battle is the same as the previous ones. Dragon Palace can recommend 10 disciples to join the competition. Those 10 people will be chosen from among all of you. It depends on nothing else but your strength. Anyone who is strong enough can get a recommendation. In addition, among you, Bailey Chen, Qing Kang, Jian Wushuang." Palace Master White mentioned these names. Jian Wushuang and the other two who were called immediately looked at her. "Since you three are all ranked in the top 10 of the Earthly Dragon list, you don't need to compete. You will automatically receive a recommendation for the selection battle," said Palace Master White. Hearing these words, the audience burst out in an uproar. The seniors were also in turmoil. There were only 10 spots, and now 3 of them were gone? Among the 3 recommendations, Bailey Chen and Qing Kang would obviously get one since their strength had been proven long ago. It was indisputable. But how could Jian Wushuang skip the competition and get recommended automatically? The seniors of Dragon Palace had doubts about this. Since there were doubts, there were also disagreements. One person stood out instantly. "Palace Master, I don't think it's fair." A powerful voice rose over the entire martial arts practice field. Chapter 149, 3 Sword Moves. All the people in the martial arts practice field looked towards the spot where they heard that voice. A stout man with bronze skin stood there, with his hands folded and a battle axe on his back. His body radiated an irritable aura and anger was burning in his eyes at this moment. "It's him. Luoang. Ranked 14th on the Earthly Dragon list." Many disciples and seniors were watching this with great interest. Jian Wushuang looked at the stout man and recognized him immediately. Among the seniors of Dragon Palace, Luoang, ranking 14th on the Earthly Dragon list. He was at the top of the list, if you didn't count Bailey Chen and Qing Kang. It's no wonder he would speak out against Jian Wushuang. "Luoang, what are you dissatisfied about?" Palace Master White asked and frowned. "Palace Master White, I agree with what you said about striving for the 10 recommendations with our strength. But you gave 3 recommendations directly, without going through the competition," Luoang said in a low voice. "I have nothing to say about Bailey Chen and Qing Kang as their strengths are universally acknowledged. But Jian Wushuang is a young and inexperienced kid who has only defeated Wang Haoyu and ranked 10th on the Earthly Dragon list because of good luck. It won't be convincing if he automatically gets a recommendation. Then what do you want to do?" Palace Master White asked with squinting eyes. "It's very simple. Let him have a front-to-back battle with me. If he can beat me, I will say nothing," Luoang said directly. What he said caused intense excitement. Jian Wushuang touched his nose unintentionally and smiled inside his heart. "I'm afraid that Luoang is not unconvinced about the recommendation I got but my 10th rank on the Earthly Dragon list." Jian Wushuang had predicted that it would cause resentment and doubts after he ranked 10th on the Earthly Dragon list, especially by the experts who ranked 11th to 20th, as they would not believe their strength was weaker than his. And Luoang, who ranked 14th on the Earthly Dragon list, was among them. "Jian Wushuang, what do you think?" Palace Master White looked at Jian Wushuang and asked. "Since he is doubtful about my strength and wants to fight with me, then let's fight," Jian Wushuang answered, accepting it directly. "Well then, you two have a fair fight. But remember, to stop where you should," said Palace Master White. Both Jian Wushuang and Luoang nodded their heads, and all the disciples around them began to back away. "Third brother, are you sure?" Wang Yuan asked and frowned. "Rest assured," Jian Wushuang answered, then smiled. "Your third brother possesses great strength, so it won't be a problem for him to defeat Luoang, said Sulai. He had witnessed how Jian Wushuang defeated Wang Haoyu. Naturally, he was more sure about Jian Wushuang's strength. No one else had witnessed that battle, so they had no idea about how wide the gap between Wang Haoyu and Jian Wushuang was. Of course they would doubt Jian Wushuang's ranking. But Sulai, who had witnessed the scene, had no doubt. He even believed that Jian Wushuang should rank higher. Boy, though the Golden Dragon Palace put you in the 10th place on the Earthly Dragon list, don't take it seriously. Sometimes the Golden Dragon Palace makes mistakes. Today I will let you know that it's not a big deal to defeat Wang Haoyu. Luoang stood in front of Jian Wushuang while speaking coldly. Perhaps, but I don't have so much nonsense to say. Just as Jian Wushuang finished speaking, a figure had already dashed out. While radiating sword essence of earth, Jian Wushuang lifted the triple kill sword and rushed forward as well. A terrifying power instantly gathered and a mighty sword shadow raged. The 11th move of the formless sword wave. As the sword shadow rushed out, the surrounding disciples of Dragon Palace all felt dazed by its vast power. The first and second volume of the formless sword wave only contained 14 moves, and Jian Wushuang was able to display the 11th move easily. How deep was his comprehension in the sword essence of earth? With this move, he could easily pass through the 11th layer of the Dragon Gate. What's more, he's said to perceive the earth, gale, and raging fire essences at the same time, said someone in the area. While watching this vast sword shadow approach, Luoang sneered. You are a warrior in the profound gold core realm. Even daring to actually fight against me, do you want to die? The battle axe behind Luoang also appeared in his hands. He lifted it up and then slashed it down. It was extremely domineering and seemed like it could break a mountain. The power of the exception gold core realm was perfectly displayed. After that, the two collided. Bang! After that loud noise, Luoang's expression suddenly changed. He discovered that the power of the vast sword shadow Jian Wushuang displayed was not weaker than the power from his giant axe. Not only that, it was actually stronger. During the confrontation, the axe shadow he displayed was defeated. How can he, a warrior in the profound gold core realm, possess such strength? Luoang had no time to show his shock as Jian Wushuang attacked him with another sword move. This move was very fierce and rapid. It was obviously the sword skill of blood and fire, with a power that was greater than the sword essence of earth that was displayed a moment ago. Luoang immediately fought back with the battle axe, but when the battle axe collided with the sword shadow, it was blasted away. Luoang's body was also instantly knocked back at that moment. Suddenly, there was a streak of light in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Formless sword art. 7th move. Chuu. A cold sword light appeared at that moment, and the surrounding world seemed to become completely dark. In the darkness, there was only the sword light. This sword light passed by Luoang at an astonishing speed. Luoang had no time to react. By the time he regained his balance, Jian Wushuang was already standing behind him, sheathing the triple kill sword. At the same time, Luoang noticed a few hairs near his ear were falling down. Luoang was stunned. Not only him, many of the surrounding disciples, and even the seniors, were all stunned. He had been defeated. Luoang was defeated. And it was an extremely miserable defeat. 3 sword moves. Yes, Jian Wushuang used a total of 3 moves. That was all it took. Luoang was defeated. What was worse, if Jian Wushuang had not shown mercy, he would have died under those 3 sword moves. The gap was too wide. Oh, it seems that this little guy's strength is even greater than we expected. Palace Master White was not surprised at all. Instead, she turned to speak with the temple masters behind her. Indeed, we all knew he would have no problem defeating Luoang. But we did not expect him to defeat Luoang with only 3 sword moves. 10th rank might still be a little low. Chapter 150, Bailey Chen. His rank was underestimated. He is strong enough to rank in the top 5. Stupid Luoang. Does he really think there is something wrong with the ranking decided by Golden Dragon Palace? Those temple masters were talking and laughing. Many people doubted Jian Wushuang's strength and disputed whether he was qualified to rank 10th on the earthly dragon list. However, those temple masters of Dragon Palace never doubted it. The rank of the earthly dragon list was actually decided by Golden Dragon Palace. When evaluating Jian Wushuang's rank, those temple masters, who are seniors in Golden Dragon Palace, conferred about it and judged that he was qualified to rank in the top 10. Not long ago, one of Bloodfeather Tower's strongholds in Tianyang province was destroyed. Hundreds of assassins were slaughtered, including over 10 gold-masked assassins and 1 purple-masked assassin. Another purple-masked assassin only managed to live by fleeing. Palace Master White talked about it slowly. According to the news from Golden Dragon Palace, it was done by only one person. And he was just a warrior in the primordial gold core realm. After hearing about it, I think it was done by Jian Wushuang. After all, when it occurred, he happened to be in Tianyang province. I don't think I need to mention the hatred he feels towards Bloodfeather Tower. In the whole Tianzong dynasty, he is the only warrior in the primordial gold core realm that would seek revenge against Bloodfeather Tower in such a crazy manner. But nobody witnessed how he killed so many assassins and the purple-masked assassin in that battle at the stronghold. It remains unknown whether he used some special skills or his own strength. Thus, we ranked him 10th in the earthly dragon list. If he did it by his own strength, killing so many assassins and a purple-masked assassin alone, he deserves to be ranked in the top 5 of the earthly dragon list. Now, it seems like he really did kill those assassins with his own strength, Palace Master Black said with a smile. Exactly. Palace Master White and other temple masters all nodded slightly. The martial arts practice field was silent. After sheathing his long sword, Jian Wushuang slowly turned and walked toward Wang Yuan and the others. When he passed by Luoang, he stopped to glance at Luoang and asked him in a cold voice, "Are you convinced now?" Luoang's heart trembled slightly. Convinced? How could he not be convinced? He was defeated by Jian Wushuang in 3 moves. If Jian Wushuang had not shown mercy, he would have been instantly killed by Jian Wushuang. How could he dare to not be convinced by such strength? Luoang turned red and began trembling at this moment. Now, is anyone else dissatisfied with the results? Palace Master White said, while looking around. Suddenly, nobody dared to say anything. This world operated under a simple principle. Whoever is strongest makes the rules. Before, Jian Wushuang had no recognized battle results, so he was unable to convince them. But now, no one doubted Jian Wushuang's rank on the earthly dragon list. After all, he defeated Luoang with only 3 moves. Naturally, no one dared to say anything. But at this moment, clap, clap, clap. Applause sounded. As everyone looked at him, the handsome scarlet-robed youth slowly walked forward. After the scarlet-robed youth stepped forward, there was some turmoil on the field. The scarlet-robed youth was Bailey Chen, an exceptional genius ranked 2nd on the earthly dragon list. Jian Wushuang also looked over at him while squinting slightly. Bailey Chen, do you have a complaint? Palace Master White looked at Bailey Chen and asked him while frowning. No. It's just rare to meet such an exceptional genius. I want to compete with you. Looking at Jian Wushuang, Bailey Chen smiled and said to him, even I might not be able to defeat Luoang in 3 moves. And, I think you didn't use all your strength, did you? I'm really curious what level your strength is really at. Shall we have a competition? With you. Jian Wushuang slightly changed his expression and then said with a smile, for what? Just to see who's stronger. That's boring. How about we both go through the heavenly palace? We can see who makes it the farthest, Bailey Chen said and smiled. Go through the heavenly palace. Jian Wushuang touched his nose and then nodded. Okay. Hearing his answer, Bailey Chen's mouth curled upward. The disciples in the area were having a heated discussion at that moment. Go through the heavenly palace. Are Jian Wushuang and Bailey Chen going through the heavenly palace? Are they having a competition? Both the normal disciples and the seniors were shocked. One of them was famous, ranking second on the earthly dragon list for a long time. Not only that, he was unquestionably the top expert in Dragon Palace. Although the other had been famous for a shorter period of time, he had made it to this point at a rapid pace. He was already a legend, Jian Wushuang. Were they having a competition? Let's start, Bailey Chen suggested. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded. They immediately went to the heavenly palace, while those disciples of the Dragon Palace followed them without any hesitation. The two palace masters and those temple masters were talking and laughing. Are they having a competition now? Good. Where there is competition, there is improvement. To be honest, although both of them are in the gold core realm, I'm still eager to watch them compete. So am I. Let's go and have a look. Haha. Let's go and find out who is the strongest. They talked and laughed while walking toward the heavenly palace. The Dragon Gate and the heavenly palace were the two major trials in Dragon Palace. The Dragon Gate specialized in testing their comprehension of essences. Thus, more people chose to go through it. But, unlike the Dragon Gate, the heavenly palace tested overall strength. Almost no disciple went through it during ordinary times. Generally, disciples of Dragon Palace who reached a certain level and were going to travel outside alone would give it a try. The seniors who just returned had already gone through the heavenly palace and met the requirements needed to leave Dragon Palace. The Dragon Gate was a huge pavilion, standing inside Dragon Palace. But the heavenly palace was a corridor in a vast underground area. It was a large corridor, lined with flaming torches on both sides that lit up the whole area. Jian Wushuang and Bailey Chen stood at the edge of the corridor and looked forward. In the corridor, there were many man-shaped shadows standing in the distance. Obviously, those lifeless shadows were humanoid puppets. Jian Wushuang had dealt with humanoid puppets before in the trial tower of Sword Marquee Mansion. They guarded this area. But compared with humanoid puppets in the trial tower, the puppets in front of them were much stronger. These humanoid puppets were called battle minions of the heavenly palace, and they were the main part of the trial of the heavenly palace.